All right. All right.
Folks.
Folks, welcome to the Get Off Our Lawn show. As always, I'm your host with my co-host. This is Dave Jackson here from Pennsylvania. We got Dave Seymour. He's the beauty to my beast. He's the lady to my tramp. He's the Peter to my pan. Folks, he played the two-string bass in a Boston-based Seattle grunge band called Genicular Nerve Block. So you know, this cat gets around.
Genicular Nerve Block.
Genicular Nerve Block.
What a great name for a band, Dave.
Thank you very much, Sherry Case Crispell.
For interjecting band names into our discussion.
That's the way we're going to go now, right there. So on today's show, as always, we have a special guest who shall remain unnamed because Dave has no idea who's coming on.
I have no idea.
Dave has no idea who's coming on, so this person will be hidden from view. So it's Dave is gonna have to guess via. He's gonna have to ask some questions, try to figure out who it is, and we're gonna go from there. So without further ado, we're gonna go into our next segment of the Get Off Our Lawn show with our special guest, who's also a class member from 1980. So here you go, folks. Enjoy the show.
My Lord!
Oh, see, now here is the plan. Here is the plan. We have a special guest who is in disguise, as you can see. And the game plan is, before the special guest can talk now, shh, here are the rules. Dave has to ask questions to see if he can't figure out who this person is, and then we'll reveal the identity. So he has to ask various questions, obviously coming back from our school background, and to see if he can't nail it. And if he can't, we'll just just have
be right back.
Just default. he's probably getting a yearbook. He's probably getting a yearbook. How are you doing, special guest? Outstanding.
That's like the Unabomber.
All right.
Okay.
So Dave, you have to ask questions to try to figure out who this is. I can tell you for sure, it is someone we graduated school with.
Okay, so we got a Dryden High School graduate in our class, right?
And all you have to do, special guest, is just nod or thumbs up or whatever you want to do.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Let's see. Were you in the band or the chorus? Were you in both the band and the chorus? Were you in the stage band? No. Okay. Jazz band. Jazz band? All right. No. All right. Let's see. Now I got to run the list. Let's see. Let me refer to my memory here. I'll keep going. Were you a football player? No. Did you live in Dryden? Did you live in Freeville? How about Etna? McLean? Could be Hartford then.
Oh, okay.
I was going to go out that way to a tall young man, but that was not it. Let's see. Did you take? I don't know. I give up. I'm done.
Are you done already?
No, I can keep going if you want.
Yeah, keep going. A few more. A few more.
A few more. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get detentions on a regular basis? Did you drive a car to school, to high school? So you took a bus. You must have taken a bus then to high school. And
including your senior year? Oh, okay.
And not Etna, not Freeville, not Dryden, not McLean, and not let's see,
Hartford.
Well,
what else is there?
Nothing else. Must have been an exchange student from Europe.
Why don't you ask the obvious two possible answer question?
All right. Well, they got to be yes/no questions, right?
No, they got to be yes or no questions. Just
you mean okay? Go.
Just dig. Just dig.
I'm digging. Did your name begin with A? We could run the alphabet here. There's 26 questions right in a row. Let's see. I can answer not. I can ask not yes or no questions.
Yes, just ask questions.
Okay. All right. What instrument did you play in band?
Clarinet.
Clarinet. Okay. I'm trying to.
He's going through his woodwind Rolodex.
Yeah. The reeded Rolodex.
The reed Rolodex. Yes.
It's escaping me, man. I can't believe you're dressed in a Unabomber suit.
All right, you gonna give up?
I give up. Yeah.
Reveal yourself, special guest.
It was. Oh, I can tell it's Suzette.
I lived in Cortland.
Did you really?
And it's a 9-mile drive. And so I took the bus. I didn't even get my driver's license until I think March or April of our graduating year. And I didn't have my first car until right before going to college.
No way.
Yep.
So, folks, we have here.
How did a person who lives in
the wonderful Suzette Johnson Harris?
Mm-hmm.
And I am so happy that you said yes, because I got to tell you, this was so much fun to set this up, and just to see Dave suffer for a few seconds, that was great.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
I was like,
So, Suzette, typical. First of all, let's not stand on ceremony here. Do you prefer Suzette or Susie?
That's what I go by, Suzette. And I think in high school, I think you all called me Sue. I thought. I don't remember. What did you all call me?
I went straight Suzette.
I went straight Suzette.
Yeah,
Suzette all the time.
Yeah, I go by Suzette because there's so many Susans and Sues, and I mean we had Sue Mandel, Sue Free, you know, and so on and so on.
Yeah, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a Sue in our class. They're everywhere.
Yeah, so I think I may have gone by Suzette. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
But oh well, not important, right?
I remember Suzette.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's Suzette. So Suzette it is. So Suzette. So what we do here is, if you watch our show,
I've watched.
Is it typically we just say our disclaimer is just after we walked off the graduation, the high school football field, as soon as we walked off, bring us up to speed on what you did for the last 40 some years.
Oh my gosh, I hate you for saying that.
Well,
and just so you know, you can edit out. You don't have to give us everything you don't want to, obviously. Just
I know. I just want to ask you a question. I think it was 7th or 8th grade. Who were the two history teachers that taught together, Mr. Head and Mr. Was it White or
It was
Whiteman?
Mr. White
Mr.
and
Whiteman.
Mr. Hanley.
Mr. Whiteman, Chuck Hanley,
And
Mr.
Chuck
Head.
Hanley shared a class under Mr. Head's guidance, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it was Mr. White. So let me just do a step back real quick. So whatever grade that was, 7th or 8th, remember we did those aptitude tests and they had us write out a little piece of paper. How much does it cost to, you know, an apartment, a car, a whole 9 yards? I did that thing.
Yep.
I went right straight to the library. I said, I've got to go to college because I was not doing it, you know, on minimum wage. So I went up to the magical shelf, pulled out a couple of things and started looking. And my interest, I thought, was going to be computers, but I was looking more at the building repairing side, right? That's what I was thinking about. So I pulled down a book and started looking for those programs. And I ended up with SUNY Plattsburgh. And I couldn't quite figure out, well, it turns out I loved math and science. And I ended up in a coding program. So I have a 4-year degree in computer science.
Really?
Wow. Yeah.
Yep. And I have a minor in French because I don't know if you remember when we were in high school, I was in French class every year. And I loved it. I studied French because I have a French first name and later found out I have Swiss heritage, which is kind of ironic because in 1983, I had the opportunity to go to college in Switzerland.
Oh,
now that's cool.
Yeah. And you'll be talking probably eventually with Lisa Peter. And I found out that she had gone just the year before me. So we both went to the same program. And it was life changing. It was just a fantastic experience. And I did go to college for computer science, and that's what I do. I work with computers. For 20 something years, I worked for AT&T in their production support, sending you all your phone bills every month. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And you know, just keeping the lights on, making sure things went, troubleshooting and the whole 9 yards. Ended up, you know, in management. Team leader is my sweet spot because I like to stay technical and I like helping people navigate, you know. And I tried management a little bit, but team lead is kind of where I fell back to. And
yeah, I see analyst in your Facebook stuff.
Yes, I love to look at data, play with data, figure out the problems. Right now I work for Bank of America and I am in their compliance testing. And so, for example, if you get a text message from the Bank of America, we better have permission to be contacting you on your cell phone. And so I write code that goes out and pulls all the text messages, for example, that we sent out in a given period. And I check it against, first I verify it's a cell phone. And then I compare it against our consent database and make sure that we did have consent to contact you. And if we don't, there's a lot of people that go skittering off because they're trying to avoid all those fines and penalties. So, but yeah, so I realized it did a huge leap. So I'll go back to 1983 for a minute.
All right.
So I
tell us then, just so on the night you graduated, we graduated from Dryden High School, lovely June night. Take it away. What happened next?
Yeah, so I mean, I went to college, and you know, I don't know how well you all remember me, but I don't think I really seemed like a person that was willing to go out and do things on my own, but I did. I went to college. I didn't know anybody, and you know, just kind of navigated, did fine.
Was that the fall of '82? You went to Plattsburgh?
Yeah. Fall of 80 immediately. I immediately went 4-year program. But so in 1983, when I went to Switzerland, I actually had and I do air quotes, okay? I had a 2-week vacation where they went from French immersion to doing classes. And so I had a URL pass. I could go wherever I wanted to go. Very first stop, I went to Munich to the Oktoberfest in September.
Who wouldn't?
That's right.
With, you know, 7 other women, I think, that were in the program. And of course, GIs galore. And so I was talking to everybody. I know that seems really shocking that I'm, you know, because I'm shy, right?
Yeah, you're
That's
so
my
shy.
joke. I'm shy, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so talked to lots of different groups. So I met my husband at the Oktoberfest.
Really?
Yeah, he was stationed in Italy. He was with First of the 509th when he was there. Yeah, we just started talking, hit it off. And one of the things that we did when we were traveling was we would share our address, because when people were traveling, hey, you need a place to crash, I got a floor kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I walked away from the Oktoberfest, never gave him a second thought, went and traveled, had fun. I had a cousin that lived in Mannheim. He worked for the Air Force. He was doing admin stuff. And I got back from my 2-week vacation. I had a letter from some guy, and I was like, ooh, I hope it's, this guy. And it was. So, but he was from Shreveport. And yeah.
Well, you made an impression.
Also,
I guess so. Well, it's kind of funny. And Dave, I think you remember the tall hug that I gave you one reunion. Yeah, look at him. Ron Jackson started that, right? I had to give Dave a tall hug too. So
now, what is a tall hug? You have to define what tall hug.
I stood on a chair so that he could have his face.
Oh, I see.
Resting where Ron Jackson's face would have rested on me in a standing position. Use your imagination.
Yeah. Well, I remember Ron Jackson looking up to a lot of guys or girls or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to get in trouble with Blanche, but I think she just kind of shook her head like, oh God, and just whatever. Because Blanche and I, we associated with each other, in school.
Yes, exactly. And I told her you were the guest tonight, and she was like, "Oh, Susie."
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so Mark was his name, and so we wrote to each other. I went and visited him a couple of times down in Vicenza, which is just outside Verona, Venice. Okay. And, got along great, hit it off, corresponded with each other. Mm-hmm. And he got out of the service after 8 years in like March, April, I think it was, of 84. Okay. He came to visit me in Plattsburgh. SUNY Plattsburgh is where I graduated. Mm-hmm. And he proposed to me. And I agreed only under the condition of a 1-year engagement, which I did stick firm to. And so we were married for 7 years, I think. And, he passed away. Mm-hmm. So,
sorry.
Yeah, I lost him I lost him in 2011. But so most of the time, I've been working hard. I was with AT&T, and probably right around the time, I guess it was around 2009, everybody decided, hey, let's send all this IT work over to offshore locations.
Yep.
And so I did, 6-month stints of having a contract, and then they'd offshore that work. And then I'd find another contract 6 months later, which was a little unnerving. But now I wish I had that gig.
Yeah.
Excuse me, because I've done 5 months straight with the bank. I'd like to have a 6-month vacation.
Yep.
That would be great. Yeah. Excuse me. So but I'm just kind of all over the place. Just born. I had 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how did I not know that?
You don't know that?
I did not know that.
Gavin and Darcy.
Okay. Ages?
Gavin.
Give me some.
I had Gavin in 93 and Darcy in 94.
Yeah.
And
so he turned 30 next year.
He would slap you for saying that.
Well,
that's our joke. He always said, I said, son, are you going to be living when you're 30? And he's like, oh, God, no.
So
every birthday, I'm like, you're turning 30 in X years. So, this year I'll be reminding him, you're turning 30 next year. But, when we lost his dad, he kind of became my protector. And I think he's afraid to leave me alone.
It's the instinct. It's what we do.
Yeah, which is okay. And it's kind of interesting. So I have Gavin and Darcy. Darcy's a 1.5 years younger than Gavin. And you want to talk about a protector. She is fierce. And it's kind of interesting because I've been dating a man for about 10 years now. Uh-huh. And I call them both, Ray and Darcy are both my pit bulls. And they fight with each other over me. And I was like, hello, let's get on the same page, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
To me, it's funny, that they can't. Well, they used to not be able to get along. They get along a little bit better now. Let me say, she tolerates him. He loves her. She tolerates him. So, but yeah, so I mean, just, nothing exciting. I've traveled up to New York to saw my parents a couple times a year. They come down and see me a couple times a year. I went and worked in Louisiana for 3 years. I had a contract, and that was kind of interesting.
Okay.
But then that was when Mark's health started declining. And so they ended up just saying, hey, you do a great job. You don't come here anymore. Just stay home. And so that's what I did, was I stayed home and
work from home.
Yep.
Okay.
So it was pretty cool.
I'll go back one notch. My son was born in 92 and he turned 30 2 weeks ago. So that was
happy birthday to him.
Yeah. Wilson was a little bit of a life milestone thing, right? He had moved out a number of years ago, but it was still a milestone for him.
Yeah.
That was why I knew that your son was going to go be 30 next year.
Yeah. Because you have your marker.
You got your marker. I got my marker. Exactly.
Well, Mr. Jackson, I have been thinking back, and I was trying to think of memories of you two when we were in high school. I know this is my interview, but I'm going to interview you, or I'm going to try to jog your memory a little bit. Are you ready?
I am an open book.
Entenmann's chocolate chip cookies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sitting at the table, the study table that was underneath the second floor stairs.
Correct. Yep.
Yep. You remember that?
They're in the C wing with right there below the steps. Yep. I absolutely do.
Yep. Me and Jill and you, and I can't remember who all else, but we sat there and
probably Pam, probably Dave's wife.
Yeah, Pam.
Yeah,
Pam
eating cookies.
Was probably eating cookies. Yep. Taking naps.
So, and then Dave, I remember Dave from jazz band. I remember he sticks out in my mind. He and Pam in Mr. Lang's history class, sitting over as you're facing the chalkboard. They were all the way over to the right, back in the corner. Me and Jill sat all the way to the left in the front. And Mr. Lang had us memorize and regurgitate.
Yeah, he had me memorize the Crusades, all of them.
Well, that and Stallion, right?
Stallion.
So, but yeah, I was in Cortland, so I wasn't super close. I mean, I lived in Cortland with Annette Marquis, lived in Cortland too. She lived over on Lime Hollow Road, and I was on Dunsden.
That must have been before they moved to West Riding Road.
Yeah, I don't remember what year she moved, but I mean, the Flazars were over there, the Millards, the McIntyres. I don't know if you remember the Monahans.
Yep. I remember most of those names.
The Williamsons.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There's some more. The Dwyers, McNamara's.
Yeah,
we were all over there. And then down the road were the Drakes.
Yep.
And Spangenbergs.
As in Paul Drake?
No, Sherry and
yeah.
Velvet and Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And Lynn Frost. So yeah, we were all over in this little triangle over there. And Cortland kids going to Dryden. We just landed on that weird line.
We were on the line then. Yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah, we were 9 miles away from the high school. And we were a lot closer to the Cortland school, but it's just the way the lines fell.
Cortland insurgents.
Yeah. Okay.
They were running reconnaissance for our Cortland.
Reconnaissance, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
I was trying to find all our elementary school pictures, our class pictures, and I just didn't have the time to dig them out. But I didn't.
I was in Mrs. Dugan's class.
Mrs. Dugan, thank you. 4th grade, Mrs. Dugan.
Yep. And I saw that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Dave was in my class. I remember." Yep. So
she was a great teacher.
Yeah, and then awesome. I was in 5th grade. I'm trying to remember her name, but she had class all the way in the basement. Mrs. I think it was Witter.
Mrs. Witter. You and I had Mrs. Witter together. Betty Witter.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then in 6th grade, I was in the 3-teacher class, Hunt
with
Parsons and
Lance.
Yeah.
Mrs. Lance.
Yep.
Mrs. Witter. And I've told the story ad nauseum, but Mrs. Witter was the class that I had my worst report card in because she was so gorgeous. She could have told me to clean erasers with my butt, and I would have done it. for her.
Oh yeah, she was very pretty, and she moved away after teaching us. I think you drove her away, Dave. I'll blame you.
Yeah, yeah.
But I cried. I loved her. She was so sweet.
Great. She was
So
great.
that must have been across the hall from Mrs.
Mrs. Fitz. That's correct.
Okay,
Right across the hall from Mrs. Fitz.
All right. Because I was in Mrs. Fitz's room across there.
Yep. Yep.
And remember running down the hallway and punching the air conditioners? Punching the air conditioner vents?
That would not have been me, thank you.
I think it was a boy thing. It was probably a boy thing.
Yeah.
So-
Anyhow.
Yeah.
Here comes the man. You want to see a beard? Come here. Show Dave's your beard.
Oh, okay. Compare beards.
Come here.
Not mine, but his. That guy over there.
Be nice. He's got wild hair like you guys do. Can you see him? That's Ray.
Hey, Ray.
Me.
You like that beard?
Hey, what's going on, man?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah,
Hey,
you have to thank him for the mask, Dave Jackson, because he delivered, man. I'll tell you. I said, "You got a mask?" He goes, "Hell yeah, I got a mask." He pulled it out, and I was like, "Oh, you rock, man." My son was like, "Do the hoodie," and I thought of the sunglasses, and
yeah,
That
there
was
you have
great.
it.
I had no idea. There was like this much going on. Right? I got like
Hey,
this much
hey, I was
forehead.
given an assignment, and he'll laugh when I say this. I do what I'm told. That's not really true. I do whatever I want to do, but I like that idea. So
you take
Oh, you
suggestions.
like that idea? Well, when
Go,
are you gonna
go,
start
go, go.
doing it?
yeah, okay, all right. Good night. Good night.
You ain't getting away from it.
There you go.
All right, I'm in a headlock. So
But
anyhow, yeah. So I mean, I don't have like massive stories to tell, but since Ray and I have been together, he has wanted to travel with me, and so we've had some pretty decent trips. We did Sturgis one year.
Oh,
Your
wow.
biker trip.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And we, went over. I told him, I said, I want to touch California. And we got there, and the place where we stopped, you could either see the rocks that were California, or you could see this beautiful vista of Arizona. And I just looked at him. I said, I'm sorry, honey, this is just not gonna do. And so we ended up driving into, is it Barstow, I think? Barstow, yeah. And so we went up through there, Vegas, Utah,
Mhm.
kind of saw that side of the world. But we do some time in Tennessee. That's where his son is. We go up into Michigan, Kentucky, and just kind of go wherever spirit takes us. So
That's cool. That's very cool.
Now, where's
Yeah.
where's home base right now?
I am in Mesquite, Texas.
Mesquite, Texas. Okay.
Yeah. And so I have lots of fun. So whenever I order anything, I have to spell my name, spell my street, spell my town. Because nobody can understand what I'm saying. I don't get it. But yeah, I've been here. I moved here in 1985. I got, what they talk about, stress and all that. So I got married June 1st of 1985.
Mhm.
Moved to Texas and started a new job on July 1st of 1985. So I do things big. Go big or go home. Yep.
I'm a huge fan of Texas. I tried to get Blanche to, let's retire in Texas, but she was not up to it because of the heat. But I have a lot of ties to Texas. All because
Yeah.
of my
So were you in Wichita Falls, or were you down in?
Well, I wasn't. Well, funny you should add. Most of my stuff is San Antonio. However, I did do
Okay.
a stint up in Wichita Falls when I was doing some schooling up there. So yeah.
Okay.
But most
Yeah,
of
I've
my
been to
stuff is all
Wichita
San
Falls.
Antonio.
I looked around a little bit because my dad was stationed there.
Yeah, the Shepherd
So,
Air Force Base.
Yeah. Yep.
What
so
did your
it's
dad
kinda
do in the
cool.
military?
Huh?
What did your dad do in the military?
Pulled wrenches.
Well, that's vague. On
Air
aircraft.
Force mechanic. He was a mechanic on the planes.
Okay. All right.
And he always told me stories about the needing parts or whatever, and these pilots would take him over to wherever the parts were, and they were, pardon my French, but they were kind of assholes and scaring the crap out of him when they're looking for something special. I don't know, maybe it's just a story. I see the look on your face, but
Pilots on the mechanics where to get the parts is weird. That's a
but
lot.
I don't
that's
know. I
odd.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. He was a machinist, and so I don't know if he did something that was like so, I don't know. maybe it wasn't him, maybe it was somebody else, but he told me stories that
Well,
were like, oh wow, okay, Dad. So
Well, hey, he served. It's all good.
yeah. So-
Immediately, your dad is my brother. Immediately. Good.
Yeah. So and
Yeah.
then Mark had 8 years. So there's some military
And what did he do?
connection.
What did he do in the military?
Well, he was in the 82nd Airborne for the first 4 years. And so whenever I would ask him what he did, he was like, well, I was airborne. I'm like, okay, you jumped out of planes every day. Come on, there had to be more, But he talked a little bit about doing like the NBC school and that sort of thing. He used to write me letters when he was gassing everybody, testing out their masks and stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, I guess I never really delved into that with him very much. He was out at Fort Ord for a while, and he was a leg then, as he would say. And then he did his last 2 years in first of the 509th. In fact, he was in Vicenza when the CO was kidnapped. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I didn't
he
hear
said
that
was
story.
pretty major,
Tell me a story.
locking down the base and the whole 9 yards. So I'll let Dave tell. Dave probably can tell it better than I can.
All I remember is the CO was kidnapped,
Okay.
and what was the base he was at again? It was he was
Well, he's
where?
in Vicenza, but I don't remember the base name.
Yeah, he was, but he was was he temporary duty there, or was he permanently stationed there?
Yeah, see, that was before my time with him, so I really don't know. I just know that he was kidnapped and they were all locked down. Nobody was leaving that base when they took him.
Yeah,
because they didn't know what they were trying to do.
yeah. I remember that was the time during in Spain, there was the Basque terrorist situation that was affecting the military of us when I was in Spain. And in Italy, there was a separate terrorist group there. They thought that that's what was going on. But I think it was more innocuous than that. It wasn't terrorist organizations that had kidnapped him. It was something more personal, interrelated, military related at the time.
Yeah. Go look up Mr. Google, Dave
Yeah.
Seymour, and you can learn all about it.
I'll have to do that. Now,
We're not very good wiki articles for you tonight, I guess.
I'm over here referencing things because I didn't realize Mesquite was just outside of Dallas. So
Yeah, so we are on the east, kind of a little bit to the southeast. And I got the perfect joke about Texas roads. It's like, what roads are under construction? They said the ones in red. Well, the entire state is red. That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So they have
There's always construction in Dallas. Every time I go there, it's just everything is under construction.
Yep.
Every road is
every road is big loop
under construction.
No, go ahead. I was just to say the big loop 635. Well, now there's a loop further out. It's the George Bush, whatever it is, Thruway Parkway, whatever.
Yeah.
But when I got here, I think LBJ was 6 lanes, maybe 8. And they went through this long process and they made it 10, I think. And now they're going through again and widen it even further and adding the continuous access route, because when you have an accident, you don't go anywhere. Even the emergency vehicles, they can't get through. So yeah, always perpetual construction.
All I know about Dallas is that the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, I've flown through there many times, and it's giant, right?
Yes.
It takes like a year to taxi from the runway to the gate. And then I've been down in Austin a number of times, but I remember seeing some giant intersections flying into Dallas. Because you get a good look at the interstate system with these massive, it's like a parking lot. It's all free form.
Yep. So if you ever need to know the back roads, just ask, because I'll tell you them every time. I drive down the back roads every chance I get. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, there's a lot of concrete.
Yes. And I think it makes it even hotter because it's like that concrete heats up and so
how far back in the driving system did you start? Did you start all the way in kindergarten, or did you start in Cortland, or where? How far back did you go?
I was in Cortland through 1st grade, so 2nd grade in McLean Elementary.
Okay.
So
water.
I can't remember who my 2nd grade teacher was, but my 3rd was Mrs. Canoodla. So do you remember her?
What was the name?
I'm taking a water break. Be right back.
Well, water break.
Hold on.
Stand by.
Mrs.
Stand by.
Mrs.
Canoodle.
Canoodling.
Canoodling.
Yeah,
Canoodle.
Yeah.
Canoodling.
Yeah.
Noodling. Is the K silent?
It could be.
Could be.
They were sticking their arms down giant fishes and stuff, you know.
They're canoodling. That's right. Catfish. I got a catfish.
All right, sorry about that, guys.
All right.
So
Hey,
My throat was tickling here, so.
she was
just to,
part.
just to let you know, we got like 5 minutes left on this meeting, and then if
Okay.
we want to continue, we can jump to the next meeting that I just sent you guys in the Facebook chat.
All right, well, it's up to you.
All right, we can do that. Okay.
If you
Got
want
it.
to continue, we'll do
I
that.
don't know. I don't have all these great interim stories. It's like I kind of hop around from thing to thing, you know.
No, it's all good. I'm just so glad that we got to talk to you. Here's what I remember about Suzette Johnson in high school and elementary school. You were always there in my face with a smile. No matter what I did, you were always smiling. You were never pissed off about anything. Is that a fair assessment? You were never frustrated.
Well, it's kind of sad because you don't know this, but I was bullied a lot in school. And
Yeah.
so I just kind of got over it, you know, and I did try to smile and kind of hide and everything. But I tried to be friendly with everybody, you know, because that's how
Yeah.
I wanted to be treated.
Yeah.
So.
No, I totally get that. Which is why I think you and my wife clicked. Oh, hang on. There you go.
Sorry
Which is why
about that.
You and my wife clicked because my wife had the same issues in high school. Same thing happened to her. So I totally get that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, you know, hanging out with Pam, hanging out with Blanche. We, you know, something with choir.
Yep.
Mostly choir with them and drama too. I remember Blanche and I, you know, were in some of the plays together and sitting backstage and visiting and everything. And
Which plays were you in?
I was in David and Lisa.
Okay.
I was in Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
And then if you ask me anything beyond that, I just don't remember. I think those really were the only two that I did. So
Okay.
I was like in all the Regents classes with you all until my senior year.
Yep.
And I had met all my requirements. So I went and had fun. I went and took, you know, art classes and
You were trying to fill the time.
ceramics.
I
And
did
I
the
just
same
had a
thing.
good time for my senior year, you
I
know?
did the exact same thing.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had done some of the, you know, things like physics and, you
Yeah.
know, that, but I don't know. I just was like, I met my requirements. I'm going to go play a little bit, you know?
And that's why we hung out at the senior table because we
Yeah.
were done with it.
That's
Suzette,
right.
Yeah.
We
You
were
did-
done with it.
Yeah.
I
So
went
it
to
was
every
pretty
class in
fun.
the world, so I never had a study hall.
Yeah, Dave took everything.
I took everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any of the stories from the senior table.
No.
No.
No. No.
My lovely wife had many stories from the senior table.
She did. She did. Well, I'll tell you what, Susie, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. It was such an honor talking to you. And hang on, real quick. You wrote something in my senior yearbook. Stand by.
Okay.
I don't.
Here it is, real quick. Dave, thanks for the hugs. I hope you remember all the good times that we had at the senior table. I hope that you'll write to me while you're away. I didn't do that. Just remember to keep smiling, and I hope you get all the wishes you deserve. Good luck and best of wishes, Sue.
Okay. There we go. That's what
There
I
we
went
go.
by, I guess.
There we go.
That was it then.
That was it. Well, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. Such a pleasure.
Yeah, it's really great seeing you guys. And, you know, I just have fun interacting with you here and there. And, you know, I hope you'll all stay in touch. So.
Well, you know, it's great that Facebook and Zoom and all those things exist these days.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
been a joy to relink with some people.
Yeah, and just try to get my memories back. It's like, what did I do in high school?
Yeah.
So, but thank you
All
all
right.
for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, and thank you for accepting my terms. I I appreciate
Oh,
that.
yeah, no problem. I had fun.
The
Thanks.
terms of appearing. That's
Yeah.
All right, dear.
All right.
You
Well,
did a great job. I had no idea.
much love to you. Give all your kids and your husband a hug for us, and we appreciate everything there, Suzette. Thank you so
All right,
much.
take care.
Very
We'll
cool.
see
Thank
ya.
you for joining us this evening.
Uh-huh.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Susie, take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Wait.